You guys can take a seat, find your friends, fix the front row, some leaders if you don't mind. That'd be awesome. I got a whole team with me here tonight because we got a nice illustration to look forward to, okay? It's gonna be a good night. How are you guys doing? Talk to me. How are you guys doing today? Let's go. How's this side of the room doing? Come on. Middle group? Okay. Let's go. What about this side? Right side? Okay, we're gonna need an extra 6 leaders there to just calm that group down, please. That's awesome. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's settle down. I want to know again, is this anyone's first time at RIZN here tonight? Any VIPs out there? Show your VIP. Let's go. Hey, we're so glad you guys are here. I see you guys. That's awesome. We're so glad you guys are here again. If you have any questions throughout the night, if you're like, what the heck is going on? You're confused. You just want someone to talk to, go and find one of those leaders with a green tag. Julianne is holding it up. I don't have one. But we're so happy you guys are here, and we want to get to know you, make you feel welcome. But to start off tonight, I want to ask you guys, you following the playoffs right now? You guys keeping up with the playoffs? Yeah? Come on. Sports fans out there, big win from the Oilers last night. Hey, awesome, forcing Game 7. So we got some sports fans in the room, right? Any sports fans? Anyone not a sports fan? You're on the opposite side. Maybe you're into arts and crafts or music, drama. Maybe you're into dance. I was waiting. Is this not working? It's okay. I'm gonna use this mic now. Anyways, that was a joke in case you guys didn't pick up on it, and it's because dance is a sport, but I always told my sisters it wasn't growing up, so I was just trying to see. All you guys are dancers, so I'm sorry for offending you today. But I want to make a confession about sports tonight, okay? This is hard to make, but I think you guys are going to resonate, even if you don't like sports. And the confession is this. Sometimes I secretly hope that my teammates suck so that I look like I'm better than them. You guys know what I'm talking about? Come on. You guys have been there. We can be honest with each other tonight. But I remember growing up, I was playing soccer, and I would be okay if my team lost. If we lost 6-3, it was fine, as long as I was scoring a hattie. If I was scoring a hattie, I was going home happy. If my teammates were scoring, I had to put on a fake smile, put on a fake celebration, try to act like I was cool with it when I really wasn't. But this same thing would happen in school. Maybe you guys will relate to this one, where you study for your exams with your friends, right? If you're in a class with your friends, obviously you're gonna study together. And so I would study with my friends for the same test, and I had this mindset that I had to do better than them, right? Because I was studying with them. I had to do better than them. If I didn't, then I was somehow failing. Okay, what about this one? Have you guys ever walked into school? Maybe you coughed a fresh pair of kicks. Mine got absolutely destroyed in the mosh pit today. There's 16 pairs of people just stepping on me. Pairs of people, what am I saying? But have you ever bought a fresh pair of kicks? Maybe it was a crispy white pair of Nike Air Force Ones. I don't even see any in the front row, which is surprising. Usually it's every 1 in 3 shoes. But maybe it's some Adidas shoes over there. Those are nice. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. The high tops too? Come on, baby. Whatever it is for you, have you ever pulled up to school with your fresh pair of sneakers? Everyone's gassing you up. It's your best day. They're giving you the attention. And then maybe it's the next day or the next week, and someone else in your school pulls up with a better pair. They just completely one-up you, and it's maybe more expensive or more hype, and they're just getting all the attention in your old news. Has that ever happened to you? No? No? Okay. My group of friends in high school was literally called the Sneaker Squad. So my entire 3 years of high school at WP Wagner just consisted of me trying to one-up my friends. Come on, Wagner, let's go. Okay, I know Wagner's hype. Let's simmer for a bit. But have you guys ever thought this way? Have you ever compared yourself in this way? Maybe for you it was with school or sports or style like it was for me. Or maybe for you it's with your appearance. You're always comparing yourself to the next person when it comes to appearance. Or maybe it's even just personality. You're looking at all those extroverts and you're an introvert in the room here tonight. And you're those extroverts, it just seems like the better personality type. I don't know, maybe for you it's just the opportunities or the situations that you find yourself in, where it always seems like the person sitting next to you right now is always getting better opportunities, more success, better things happening in their life. I bet every single one of us in this room have compared themselves at some point, okay? We can be honest tonight together, but how I see it is that we're all believing the same lie. We're all believing the lie that other people's success means our failure. To go a little deeper, I want to talk through a passage in the Bible tonight. And if you're like, what is the Bible? I don't know what that is. Think of it as a real historical book that documents God's hand throughout humanity. And so in the Bible, there's this guy, his name is Paul. Paul lived about 2,000 years ago, so he's a straight up boomer at this point. But Paul, he actually hated Christians. Okay, Paul hated Christians so much that he actually wanted to kill them. So there's this dude, Paul, he's going around killing Christians. And in what's an insane story, Paul ends up becoming a Christian himself. He becomes a Christian, and then he travels throughout Europe, Middle East, and actually becomes a pastor, planting churches all throughout these areas. It's a crazy story. If you want to know more about it, talk to a leader. Talk to Duncan. He loves Paul. He'll talk to you all night about Paul. But I don't have time to go into it today. But anyways, Paul must have compared himself to the other Christians around him, right? Paul had once hated and killed Christians, and now he was in the company of all of these people who had been following God for some time. These people who had maybe walked with Jesus himself. These people who, from an outside perspective, seemed to have everything together and seemed to be perfect Christians. Paul probably felt like he had to prove himself as a good enough Christian. You ever felt like you had to prove yourself as a good enough person, a good enough, sibling, friend, whatever it may be? Paul probably compared himself to the people around him, and yet this is what he writes in a letter to us that we recorded in the Bible. He says, I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. That's pretty cool. I'm excited tonight because we too are going to get to learn a secret that Paul is sharing with us about being content in any and every situation. So Paul goes on, he's writing to us in the Bible, and he says, for though everybody say we. Come on. We live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons that we fight, everybody say fight, are not the weapons of this world. Instead, they have divine power. Divine power, basically like supernatural power. Thanos with all his rings or something. We have divine power to demolish strongholds. Okay, you're probably like, what the heck is a stronghold? I've never heard that word in my life. Or maybe you heard of it and it's like a fort or a fortress. That's kind of actually accurate, but that's not the context that Paul uses it in. A stronghold is a thought pattern or a belief that you have repeated so many times that it has become your default. Okay, a stronghold may be the belief, to go back to our earlier examples, maybe the belief that I'm stupid because I never get the grades that my friends do, even though we studied for the test together. A stronghold may be the belief that I'm not good enough and that I will never measure up to the standards of my parents or my friends. A stronghold may look like believing that nobody wants to know me. Nobody wants to get to know me. Nobody wants to be my friend. And even if they did, I would just push them away anyways. So Paul's talking about strongholds here, and he goes on to say that we demolish arguments and every pretension, basically a stronghold. We demolish arguments and strongholds that set themselves up against the knowledge. Everybody say knowledge. Knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought. Everybody say thought. Okay, to make it obedient to Christ. So if you're lost or confused and you're like, I don't really understand what Paul is saying here, let me tell you how I interpret this, make it a little more clear to you. When we compare ourselves to other people, what we're doing is we're entering into this argument with ourselves about who we really are, right? We enter into these arguments. We've all been in situations like this, and we say things like, I'll never be as good as them. I'll never be deserving of attention the way that they are. We compare ourselves with people at school who always have a flock of friends around them. They're always getting the popularity and the attention from other people. And we tell ourselves that we must not have something to offer, or we must not be as likable as them. And notice, RIZN, all of these statements are forming an identity. They're arguing for a particular identity about who we are, how we see ourselves. I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm unlikable, I am too much but also not enough. I'm an outsider. And here's the point. RIZN, this is what I want you to walk away with tonight. So if you're asleep already, wake up for this one thing and take it with you. It's good. Comparison forms your identity from feelings, but God forms your identity from truth. Okay, comparison forms your identity from feelings, but God forms your identity from truth. Comparison will tell you that you are not enough, but God's truth tells you that you are complete and lacking nothing. Comparison tells you that you should do more to prove your worth, but God's truth tells you that you are worthy just as you are. Comparison tells you that people in your life would rather spend time without you, that they would rather have hangouts without you there. But God's truth tells you that you are a light to the world and that you have something to offer in every situation that you enter. The reason that comparison often makes us feel so insecure is because our feelings are always changing, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you want McDonald's, sometimes you want A&W, sometimes you want Five Guys. Our feelings are always changing. And so as a result, it forms in us an insecure identity. But God's truth never changes, right, boys? God's truth never changes. That's what I'm talking about. God's truth is a target that we can aim at that is stable. And God's truth forms in us a secure identity. So RIZN, what is forming your identity tonight? How did you walk in here, and what did you walk in here as? What is forming your identity? Because comparison will form your identity from feelings, but God forms your identity from truth. I want to try to explain it in another way. I think you guys will think this is good. Have you ever been to IKEA? Yeah? Okay, the big blue and yellow store, South Common. Swedish meatballs is hard to... I was going to ask, what's your favorite part about IKEA? Swedish meatballs? The beds? Okay, that's too far, bro. Ice cream, hot dogs? Okay, listen. I have a throwback for you guys. When I was younger, my parents would take us to IKEA and they would go furniture shopping. But you know where they dropped me off? They dropped me off at the kids' playland. You know what I'm talking about? Come on. That playland was sick. I'd go in, I would be like 6 years old. I'd go play in the ball pit. I'd meet my lover for the day while my parents were shopping. And me and her would form this nice little romance. It was awesome. And then we'd go up to that little nook and we'd watch the Disney movies together. It was so awesome, so romantic. And as I grew up, though, I learned to really appreciate the IKEA hot dogs. I'd say that's probably my favorite part about IKEA now. 99-cent hot dogs, you cannot go wrong at all. Like, I would go and I'll just scarf down like 6 of these bad boys. Could I get a Kleenex? That'd be awesome. Thanks. I have like a little bit of blood or something dripping. Anyways, IKEA's awesome. The thing about IKEA is, though, if you've ever been to IKEA, thank you, Marin. The thing about IKEA... The thing about IKEA is if you've ever been there, it's kind of a little bit different from other stores, right? Like you can't just walk in and kind of just chill and go wherever you want. What happens is you actually have to follow these arrows that they set out for you on the floor, right? You've been to IKEA, you've been through there, so you walk through these arrows, and these arrows take you through all these different IKEA showrooms. And these IKEA showrooms are meant to sell the IKEA product. And so you go and look at the IKEA showrooms, maybe it's like the organized closet with all the accessories and the drawers, or the perfect bedroom setup, whatever it may be. And you look at these IKEA setups and you're meant to compare that to your own living spaces, to your own bedroom, to your own room. And this is how they try to sell their product. What happens if you actually want to buy the product at IKEA? You can't just like pick up this chair and walk away with it, right? What happens is you have to follow the arrows all throughout the showrooms until you get to the IKEA warehouse. Here we have the IKEA warehouse, and it is in the IKEA warehouse where you have the product in boxes. You can walk away with it, buy it, and build it yourself. And as I was thinking about IKEA this past week, sorry, I like legit have a nosebleed on stage. That is so awkward. As I was thinking about IKEA this past week, and mostly about the IKEA hot dogs, but a little bit about IKEA too, I thought this is kind of like the world that we find ourselves living in, right, RIZN? We walk into our schools or our sports teams, our different clubs. Maybe we just go on social media, and we find ourselves presented with everyone else's showrooms. I'm sitting in this showroom right now. We see everyone else's lives. They're so much better than ours, so much more attractive from the outside. They seem to have it all together. And we're presented with all of these different showrooms in our lives. And the day goes on and the day goes on. And it is only when we reach the end of the day that we find ourselves and we sit with ourselves. And the result of going through all these different showrooms first is that the showroom becomes our identity default, right? How we see ourselves becomes directly tied to how we see other people. So what I'm trying to tell you guys at RIZN tonight is that what we need to do is we need to flip the arrow around, okay? We need to flip the script, and we need to walk through IKEA backwards, okay? I don't want you to actually walk through IKEA backwards. I know some of you guys are probably gonna try to do that, and if you get in trouble, don't blame me. But what I mean by that is that we need to go to the warehouse of our own lives first and let the truth of who we are set in before we inevitably enter the showrooms that we are presented with all throughout our culture and our world. To change our identity from being formed by comparison to being formed by God, we need to let the truth determine who we are rather than our feelings. I think building IKEA furniture, if you've ever built IKEA furniture, it's kind of like adult Lego. That's how I describe it. You get the box and you have all the different bags and the compartments, but then what do you have to help you build it? You have the instruction booklet, right? So you have this instruction booklet to help you see how the parts fit together. And the amazing thing about building our identity in God is that we don't have to try to figure it out on our own. We don't have to just say, God, what are you saying? Like, I have no idea. God, what is your truth? We don't have to struggle for answers. Instead, God provides us with an instruction manual to form the basis for his truth. And this is why the Bible, this is the thing that I talked about earlier, where we talked about Paul. This is why the Bible is so important, because the Bible allows us to form an identity based on God's truth. It's the instruction booklet for building an identity on God's truth. Letting God form your identity from truth looks like using the Bible to build your identity from truth. And so you may not be building what everyone else is building here tonight, RIZN. You might walk in and you might see everyone else's showrooms and think, man, I just need to get a little bit of what they're getting. I need to drink a little bit of what they're drinking. They're so strong and they're so muscular. They're so good at basketball. I need to build what everyone else is building. But the reality is you may not have the same talents or personality or opportunities as everyone else. But let me give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about tonight. I just need to find where I'm at in the notes here so I can say this right for you. So right now you might be finding yourself kind of living a showroom identity, and your friend might seem to have life all figured out. You might have this friend who they just seem to have a good life from the outside. They're making the sports teams. They have their relationships. They're getting the girl. Everything seems so good from the outside. And meanwhile, you're like, my life doesn't seem like that at all. My life seems so uncertain. I don't know where I'm going. They might know exactly what they're doing in high school or in their career, in going into university, and you're just so uncertain, so unsure of what's happening. And in this moment, you're letting the feelings of comparison slowly begin to form your identity. That I'm uncertain. I must be an uncertain person. I am inadequate. I don't know what's ahead. But RIZN, here's the truth. In this moment, you're not building what you were supposed to be building. You didn't build the identity that you were designed to build. What did you do? Instead of looking at the instruction manual, you looked at the finished product of someone else's life. You looked at the showroom that they're presenting to you and tried to work your way backwards and build your identity from there. But to build our identity in God's truth, we need to go to the instruction booklet. We need to go to the Bible and what God is saying about us first. So how does this relate to you? Again, you have to go to the truth of what God is saying about you. And you might be like, how do I do that? So now, when you're comparing yourself to your friend and you find yourself, feeling uncertain, feeling inadequate, your friend seems to have life all figured out. Now, you can go to the truth of who God says you are. God, who do you say I am? What do you have for me? And God says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Trust in the Lord and he will make your path straight. RIZN, God is trying to build something different in you than he's building in everyone else. To that person, it may seem like, I just need to build a future for myself. My friend seems to have their life all figured out. I just need to build exactly what they're building. I need to build a university foundation. I need to build certainty in what is ahead in my future. But God is trying to build something different in you, RIZN. What is he trying to do? God is trying to build trust. He's trying to build trust, and he says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make your path straight. I found in my own life that the first time I tried to go to God's truth to let it form my identity, it often feels uncertain. It feels like a little bit weird and like it doesn't even work properly. And it kind of can leave you a little bit discouraged. But I would just say for you, you're probably still viewing yourself through the lens of another person's showroom. And the truth is that you have to repeat the truth over and over again to let it become your identity default. And so next time you find yourself looking around at another person's showroom and comparing yourself, go build God's truth instead. Next time you find yourself feeling like an outsider, feeling like a group at school might have labeled you as different than them, and so you're an outsider to them, and you just want to be a part of it. Next time you're like, God, I feel so lost. What do you say? Go to God's truth, and what does God say? He says, I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. Whereas then you might be here tonight and you might not even be a Christian like I kind of talked about earlier. You might not consider yourself a Christian. You might not, have read the Bible before or even believe the Bible. You might not even understand or believe what I've just been telling you. But you can still speak truth over yourself. And next time you feel that temptation to compare yourself, to sit in another person's showroom, you can speak truth over yourself. Where is my last one? I don't even know where it is. Okay, I'm just gonna read it instead. It says, I am smart, I'm enough, I am capable, I'm doing well, I'm worthy. You can speak those statements over yourself instead of letting comparison form your identity. In comparison, it will always form your identity from your feelings, but God will form your identity from truth. These past couple of weeks, I started working a new job, and I'm a university student during the school year. So I started working this job, and I'm doing landscaping. And I found myself comparing the job that I have to the job that all my friends have. And I saw their jobs as more fun, like they were enjoying themselves so much more. I saw them making more money than I am. And I saw just a more enjoyable experience in the workplace. And I began to compare myself. I became bitter. I would wake up each morning and feel unmotivated, feel like I didn't want to go through this day. And I was becoming resentful of the other people in my life who I thought had better jobs than me. And so I had to go to the truth. I had to let God's truth form my identity rather than these feelings of comparison. And so I went to the truth. God says in Galatians 6:4-5 to pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. And I had to internalize that, not just so it could sit in my memory, but so that it could actually begin to form the identity that I had in God's truth. So RIZN, the question that I have for you today is, where do you need to build God's truth into your identity? Where have you been believing a lie? How I often do it is, first identify the feeling. What am I feeling? Oftentimes it can just be comparison, but maybe it's a feeling of inadequacy, a feeling of low self-worth, whatever it may be for you. Identify the feeling. Next, you can look at the lie that's underneath that feeling. What am I believing? Oftentimes it's a lie that is driving that. And lastly, I just literally go to Google and I search up Bible verse to combat this lie. Bible verse to combat comparison in work. Something like that. And I just believe that if every one of us went home and wrote down one lie that we've been believing about ourselves and spoke truth about it instead, that we would each be able to loosen the grasp of comparison on our own lives. We'd become more of ourselves and not what other people force us to become. We'd become more confident and more capable of stepping into our calling. And I just look out right now and I just believe that there are people in this room that are gonna be doctors, actors, accountants, even athletes, TikTok stars maybe, I don't know. There is God-given purpose in this room. Each one of you has been given a God-given purpose. But a God-given purpose requires a God-given identity, an identity that's rooted in God's truth, and that frees us to be and to do what we were designed to. It allows us to love and celebrate others instead of putting on a fake smile and a fake celebration like I did when I was playing soccer. It allows us to actually celebrate them for who they are. And it allows us to move from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And you might be like, what are those? A scarcity mindset believes that there's only so much blessing, only so much success to go around. And so the result is you probably find yourself playing tug of war with your friends, where they're on one side and you're on the other, and you're trying to pull them over to your side, trying to take a little bit of their success, trying to take a little bit of what they have, because you believe that if you don't, then you're a failure. While an abundance mindset recognizes that God is big enough to bless all of us. God is big enough to give us all individual and unique gifts and callings, to bless all of us in our lives, and the success of others doesn't threaten who we are. Here's what it'll test to determine what mindset you're living with, what mindset you walked in with tonight. Do you celebrate with your friends when they do something better than you? Or receive more than you? Or instead of celebrating, do you fake a celebration, again, like I did in soccer, and secretly hope that they fail the next time? Do you find yourself secretly hoping that your teammates suck so that you do better than them? Do you find yourself secretly hoping that your friend messes up so that you look better than them? I just want to invite the worship team to come on up, and if that's you and you're kind of a little bit, what would you say, convicted by what I just said, that's totally okay. I too am on the journey of learning to let go of comparison and let God form my identity instead. But if that's you, thank you. If that's you and you've been letting the feelings of comparison form your identity, maybe you recognize, you know what, Aaron, I've been living with that scarcity mindset you talked about. If that's you and you're recognizing that today, then I just want to speak to you for a second. And I'd ask you, have you ever encountered the truth before? You know, oftentimes we've been letting our identity be formed by comparison, not because we don't apply the truth, but because we don't even know the truth. And so I just want to speak the truth to you guys, RIZN, tonight. And the truth is that God loves you, and God wants to form your identity. God will always speak a better word over you. God will always speak a better word over you. What do I mean by that? Whatever you may be thinking or believing or speaking about yourself, God will always speak a better word over you. Something better than what you could even think of yourself. And so if I could just ask for everyone to close their eyes for a minute. Close their eyes and bow their heads. This is for you. This is for the person who is tired of letting go, tired of letting who they are be thrown around by comparison, and they want to find themselves in an unchanging, unfailing God instead. This is for the person who's been living their entire life with a scarcity mindset, believing that they are not enough. This is for the person who's ready for a better word today, ready to receive a word from the God who made them and loves them. And if that's you and you want to enter into a friendship and a relationship with a God who offers you truth, a God who you can base your identity in, who is a stable target, a God who will not change and will not fail you. If that's you, could you just throw a thumbs up for me here tonight, just so I know who I'm letting go of comparison with? Awesome. Awesome. You guys can put your thumbs down now. We're not going to play 7-Up. Don't worry. Repeat after me. God, thank you for uniquely making me. Thank you for loving me just as I am. Tonight, I let go of comparison. Tonight, I choose to believe in you, to follow you, and to live with an abundance mindset. In Jesus' name, amen.
Chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against
in the West Lobby right here, we've got a cereal bar. Get some free cereal, spike ball, all those fun stuff. Have a good night, guys.